The new beginning of Long Island medium Theresa Caputo and her former husband Larry Caputo. With a fresh chapter, Theresa Caputo, a psychic from Long Island, and her ex-husband Larry Caputo are once again in the news. The two have partnered for a new business venture, putting aside all of their previous blunders. They just declared their intention to launch a new home and land company. Furthermore, they intend to grow their company to a bigger level sometime soon. Fans are already very upset with the news that Theresa and Larry revealed on social media. However, a lot of people want to know how successful Larry and Theresa's new business will be. How far their joint enterprise can go is a matter of time. Millions of people have long recognized Theresa Caputo as the Long Island medium because of her outrageous personality, her amazing ability to channel messages from the other side, and her distinctive blonde hair, which matched her spirit's height. Her ex-husband Larry Caputo, a man with a quiet strength who frequently counterbalanced her frenzied energy, had been a recurring figure on film throughout her earlier years. Fans believed the chapter was permanently closed when their marriage ended years ago. However, life had other ideas, as it usually does. Theresa and Larry reunited one sunny Long Island morning, this time as business partners prepared to embrace a new beginning rather than as a couple rekindling their romance. After years apart during which they had grown apart, a common opportunity, the real estate industry, brought the two back together. It all began when Theresa spoke with a customer who disclosed that they were having trouble selling a family home during a private reading. Inspired by the story, Theresa reflected on the energy that houses hold, the memories of their occupants. She understood that she wanted to take that concept and turn it into something concrete. Houses were more than just structures with walls and floors. They were places of love, sorrow, development, and heritage. Her first thought was of Larry, who had quietly gained skills in several business endeavors following the divorce. She hesitated at first. Although the scars from the past had healed, it was difficult to consider combining business with their complex background. But when she extended her hand to him, Larry startled her by responding immediately in the affirmative. One morning over coffee, he stated, "Theresa, we've done life together, raised kids together, and made it through difficult times together. I believe we can sell a couple homes jointly if we can do all of that." The next chapter of the Caputo's story was suddenly underway. Caputo Homes and Land, their new company, was about more than just real estate purchases and sales. Theresa contributed her innate charm, her capacity for profound human connection, and yes, her intuition. Larry approached discussions with plan, organization, and composure. During their marriage, they found themselves working together to create something neither of them could have predicted. They had an incredible turnout at their first open house. Fans came to see Theresa and Larry together again in addition to the property. Some questioned whether this was really a publicity gimmick, while others wondered whether sparks may rekindle. Theresa joked to the audience, laughing it off. "Hey, it was spirit who brought us together to sell property, not to be married again." The line spread like wildfire, appearing on both real estate groups and fan pages. However, as the weeks stretched into months, a noteworthy event occurred. Their company was thriving, not simply prospering. Their specialty was finding homes that felt good for people. Before marketing each house, Theresa insisted on touring it and talking about the energy she sensed. When she would add something like, "This house feels like it's ready for a family with kids running around in the backyard," some buyers leaned in, deeply moved, while others chuckled. Her intuition was usually right. Behind the scenes, Larry was in charge of the contracts, the statistics, and the marketing plan. There was no denying their equilibrium. Media outlets started to cover their venture as the hype increased. There were headlines everywhere. Theresa and Larry Caputo's unexpected new partnership. From divorce to deals, Long Island Medium is now selling homes instead of just messages. The Caputos maintain their concentration in spite of the scrutiny. From the sidelines, their kids, Victoria and Larry Jr., looked on with pride. Even those who had previously lamented their marriage's dissolution started to rejoice over this novel form of reunion. Theresa and Larry were sitting outside a recently bought house one evening after a long day of showings. The sky was turning pink and orange as the sun sank. I never imagined we'd be here again, Theresa remarked quietly as she sipped her coffee. Not in this manner. Gazing at the horizon, Larry grinned. You know, life is funny. Perhaps the cosmos was aware that we still had more to do together. As partners, not as husband and wife. A distinct type of soul contract. Theresa gave a nod. She didn't need to hear it from spirit for once. She was aware already. Although Caputo Homes and Land's future was still up in the air, one thing was certain. They had united to use their history as a foundation and were constructing something new, home by home, heart by heart, brick by brick. But nervous laughter and quiet conversation filled the little studio. Families from a variety of backgrounds had come together, each holding on to the hope that they would, just possibly, hear from their departed loved ones. Even though the cameras were rolling quietly in the background, the people in the room weren't interested in the lighting, the audience, or the show. It was about making a connection. It has to do with recovery. Like an old friend, Theresa Caputo entered with her well-known warmth, her hair up, and an exaggerated yet nonetheless reassuring demeanor. Instead of standing on a stage or behind a desk, she moved among the crowd, reassuring them of their safety by smiling at their anxious looks and patting their shoulders. Theresa took a deep breath and briefly closed her eyes. This evening, spirit is strong, she muttered. After that, she opened her eyes and surveyed the space. A woman in her late 40s was sitting peacefully with her hands folded securely in her lap when she caught her eye. Theresa hadn't spoken yet, but the woman's eyes were already full of tears. Theresa pointed gently and said, You. May I approach you? Speechless, the woman nodded. On the other side of her, Theresa leaned closer. A lovely grandma energy is moving forward for you, sweetie. She continues to shine a strong light at me, almost like a star. She claims that you have been searching the night sky for her. The woman immediately broke down and put her hands over her lips. Yes, that is what I do, every night. Theresa gave a knowing smile. I am her shining star, she tells me, adding that she wants you to stop wondering if it's indeed her. That star is her way of expressing, I'm here, every time you see it. I have never abandoned you. Incredulous, the woman shook her head. I kept that from everyone. I believed that speaking with a celebrity would be pointless and that I was just being foolish. Theresa, however, leaned forward. She's telling me that you promised her something before she died, didn't you? Something about maintaining her brightness at all times? The woman started crying uncontrollably. Yes, she muttered, holding a tiny chain around her neck. She always assured me that I would continue to sense her presence even after she was gone. One star was so bright, it nearly blinded me when I stepped outdoors the night she passed. Ever since, I've spoken to it as if it were her. I vowed to always remember her radiance. Around them, the audience fell silent as they listened in wonder. Theresa nodded in a soft voice. She is aware. She is coming through so strongly because of this. Tell my granddaughter she is never alone. She is urging me. She wants to thank you for proudly bearing her memory, saying, I'm always shining, guiding her, even on her darkest nights. Overwhelmed, the woman was shaking her head. She was everything to me. When my mother was unable to raise me, she did. She was my haven of safety. Reaching across, Theresa took the woman's hand. She is demonstrating a kitchen to me. Do you recall spending hours conversing with her while she prepared meals at her kitchen table? Through her tears, the woman laughed. Indeed, she consistently prepared her renowned apple pie. It was always home when you smelled it. Theresa grinned. She wants you to know that she will always find small ways to remind you of her love, she says. Every time you smell apples baking, that's me. Thank you, the woman whispered as she dried her eyes. Thank you very much. Theresa wasn't finished, though. She listened while tilting her head. Something else is being shown to me by your grandmother. For her, a star is more than just a star. She claims that lately you have been questioning yourself. You've been feeling as though you lack the strength to face life without her support. Slowly, the woman nodded. That's accurate. I've been having a difficult time with my daughter. Without her support, I sometimes feel like I don't know how to be a decent mother. Theresa tightened her grip on her hand. Look at that star, your granny says. You are that star, too, not just me. You have strength. You are radiant. Now that you are your daughter's star, she wants you to continue the tradition and recognize that you possess the same love and wisdom she always has within you. The woman's body trembled as she gasped. I needed to hear that exactly. The place began to shine with a lighter energy. Theresa's gaze grew softer. Tell her that she is also my shining star, she says. She makes me proud. I will always keep an eye on her. For a time, love-laden silence hung in the air. I'll never forget this, the woman whispered, clutching her jewelry. Theresa rose, speaking softly. My dear, that is the strength of spirit. They never truly depart from us. There is just love hidden behind every sign and behind every reed. Unending, unadulterated love. With many of them wiping away their own tears, the audience burst into silent ovation. The woman's heart was lighter than it had been in years as she sat there, certain that she was speaking to her grandmother rather than the universe each time she gazed up at that bright star in the night sky. She now understood that there was something timeless hidden behind the book, the medium, and the tears. Love. Love that endures beyond death. The kind of love that never goes out of style. Her grandmother was a bright light. But it was one of those cold Long Island fall evenings when the silence is so thick that even the sound of passing automobiles seemed far away. The famous Long Island medium, Theresa Caputo, was sitting quietly in her kitchen drinking tea and looking absently at the candle flickering in front of her. Being a medium meant that she was always surrounded by spirit energy, which could be both reassuring and overwhelming, but that night was different. In her heart, something was stirring. Her phone rang at that very moment. It was Victoria, her daughter. Mom, don't freak out, but I was in a car accident, she replied, her voice trembling. Theresa's heart almost stopped beating. She asked 1,000 questions at once, her hand shaking. Are you okay? You're where? What took place? Victoria clarified that her automobile was struck by a distracted driver who had run a red light. Fortunately, she only suffered minor wounds, such as a cut on her forehead and a few bruises, but the catastrophe left her completely terrified. Theresa's heart was racing with relief and worry as she hurried to meet her daughter at the hospital. Victoria was seated on the hospital bed with a bandage over her eyebrow and tears in her eyes when Theresa finally caught sight of her. She appeared little, frail, and terrified. Theresa whispered, "You're safe," and gave her a firm hug. That is the only thing that counts. But the pain wasn't the only reason Victoria cried. They came from something else, something she was unable to describe. When they got home later that evening, Victoria admitted, "Mom, I swear I felt something like someone was with me in the moment of the crash. I have no idea how to describe it." Theresa was all too familiar with that sensation. In situations where life or death was at stake, spirits frequently appeared. As Victoria spoke, she instantly felt the presence. It was soothing, familiar, and powerful. Not in her capacity as the Long Island medium, but as a mother seeking to bring her daughter comfort, Theresa made the decision to have a private reading for her the next day. She decorated the living room with gentle lighting and candles. Across from her, Victoria sat with her hands folded anxiously on her lap, still pale. Shutting her eyes, Theresa muttered, "All right, spirit, come on forward. Please let me know if you were with my daughter that evening." Theresa experienced the tremendous warmth of her own deceased parents, Victoria's grandparents, almost immediately. She gave a quiet gasp. "Grandma and Grandpa are here, Vic. Oh my God. They claim to have been in that car immediately next to you. They kept you safe." Victoria's eyes grew wide as tears streamed down her face. "Really? I believed I had a hallucination. I assumed I was only afraid." Through her own tears, Theresa smiled softly. "No, my love. You didn't imagine that. Grandpa claims that at the point of impact, he placed his hand on your shoulder. That's why you felt at ease, even for a brief moment. And Grandma continues to surround you in a blanket of white light. It wasn't your time, they remark. Now, With her shoulders trembling from the sudden release of years of uncertainty, dread, and pain, Victoria sobbed freely. I constantly pondered whether they were still keeping watch over us. I knew something protected me after the crash, even though I didn't want to accept it. I sensed them. Reaching across the table, Theresa took her daughter's hand. Honey, they never abandoned you. Spirits never go away. They lead us, particularly when we are at our lowest. It could have gone so differently that night, but your grandparents made sure you left. An energy that was so dense that it was nearly visible flooded the room. Theresa sensed her parents' affection for each other. She started passing along further messages. Victoria drove too fast, just like her mother used to when she was young, according to her father's joke. Reminding Victoria about the Sunday dinners, her mother urged her to remember the family recipes. Both of them maintained that the accident served as a warning to Victoria to slow down in life as well as on the road. Victoria's weeping transformed into gentle laughing as the messages came in, and her heart began to fill with warmth rather than fear. They're stepping back now, but before they go, they're showing me a star, shining so bright in the night sky, Theresa finally replied after taking a long breath. They say to gaze up whenever you're afraid. They will use that star to remind you that they are constantly keeping an eye on you. Victoria wiped away her tears and smiled feebly. Mom, I'll find it. I swear. Even after the reading was over, they were still affected emotionally. The cold fall air brushed Theresa's face as she and her daughter stood outside later that evening. There were innumerable stars in the pure sky. Then one star flared brighter than the others, almost magically. That's them, isn't it? Said Victoria as she pointed. Theresa nodded, her eyes sparkling with tears. Yes, honey, they are that. Standing there under the sky, mother and daughter embraced, not only because they were relieved Victoria was safe, but also because they were thankful for the indisputable fact that love never dies. Even after the darkest nights, the light will always come back, and the spirits of the people we love the most will always find a way to protect us, lead us, and remind us of this. But an intimate warmth filled the enormous auditorium as warm golden lighting softly illuminated the stage. The audience, which was made up of both hopeful and cynical faces, had come to see Theresa Caputo, the famous Long Island medium, do what she did best, make the living communicate with the spirits of their lost loved ones. The attention was drawn to Theresa's large blonde hair as she entered the stage, wearing her trademark high heels. She used her captivating energy to welcome the crowd. Good evening to all of you. Be assured that your loved ones are already lining up backstage. Even though I know some of you arrived with an open heart and others with a thought, there's no way this lady is going to talk to my loved ones. While the crowd laughed, several leaned forward and held onto tissues, silently hoping for a sign. Theresa was seated across from the evening's host, a prominent journalist, in two armchairs positioned in the middle of the stage. This was a recorded interview for a broadcast special, not just a live event. The presenter started. You've been doing this for years, Theresa. Tonight, though, feels different. People who have come from all over the nation to be here are clinging to hope. How do you feel at the moment? Theresa tilted her head, as if she were listening to someone speaking in her ear, and closed her eyes for a moment.
To be honest,
a young man seems to be coming forward, in my opinion. He says he wants his mother to know he's all right after his untimely death. The audience erupted in gasps. A woman in the second row raised her hand in tears. That's my son, she said in a raspy tone. He was just 22 years old. With a microphone in hand, Theresa came down from the stage and went up to the woman. He is displaying his baseball cap to me. Did he wear one all the time? The woman gave a forceful nod. Yes, he always had it with him. Theresa gave a soft smile. Mom, you need to stop blaming yourself, he said, placing the cap on my head in spirit. I wasn't meant to remain. I'm keeping an eye on you and your sister. The crowd sat in startled silence as the woman covered her face and sobbed. There was no denying the moment's rawness. Tears filled even the doubtful host's eyes. That's why I do this, Theresa said, stepping back onto the stage. Spirit uses information I could never know to validate themselves. They use it to remind us that love never fades. As the interview went on, Theresa kept getting stopped by ghosts trying to get through. She looked at a man in the back row and stopped in the middle of her statement. "Did your father just die, sir? He apologizes to me for being so harsh with you." The towering, stern man's lips trembled as he attempted to keep his cool. "Yes, he did really pass away last year. We didn't part ways amicably." Theresa's tone grew softer. "He wants you to forgive yourself as well. He just put his hand on your shoulder and said, 'Son, I was proud of you. I just didn't know how to say it.'" The man sat down gently, emotion shining in his eyes. Clearly moved, the host leaned forward. "How do you handle everything, Theresa? You're simultaneously taking in a lot of love and suffering." Theresa let out a breath. "It's about bringing people peace, not about me. They mend hearts when the spirit comes through. That is my life's purpose." Theresa suddenly gripped her chest. "All right, this is serious. Someone here unexpectedly lost a young sibling." A shaky hand was raised by a teenage girl. "I am that. In an automobile accident, my sister lost her life." Theresa's eyes were hard, but kind as she nodded. "She simply held up a bright star to me. When you see a shining star in the night sky, it's her, according to her. She also wants you to live your own life, not simply hers, so quit wearing her hoodie." The girl wept, yet she also managed to chuckle. "I don her sweatshirt every day." The audience gave a quiet clap, expressing a collective release of energy rather than applause. Even though they weren't spoken to directly, it seemed like everyone in the room was breathing easier and sensed the presence of their own loved ones. "Theresa, what would you like people to take away from this interview if they don't receive a personal message tonight?" the host finally asked. With her voice echoing through the still auditorium, Theresa stood erect. "Your loved ones are with you, and I want everyone to know that. Every day they show you signals, they hear your prayers, and they see your tears. It's no accident that a coin, a song, or a dream occur. I'm still here," they're saying. Love never dies, and death doesn't sever that connection. A standing ovation erupted throughout the room. People were wiping away their tears, hugging strangers, and clinging to hope. Theresa muttered to herself, "Another night, another room full of healed hearts," as the lights went down and the cameras ceased to roll. "Spirit led me here for that reason." The Long Island medium then left a path of tears, faith, and the unwavering conviction that love never truly dies as she left the stage. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Mina, and I hope you're having a great day. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the video.